Welcome back to the Investor Professor podcast. This is Dr. Ryan Peckham, and this is episode 100. On today's episode, I've had a lot of requests to discuss kind of some more business tips for people who are trying to start a business in the beginning stages of starting a business. And I'll also kind of share with you some life changes we got going on here and kind of just put it all together in one episode. So get your mind right. Let's get to work. Well, welcome back to the show, everybody. This is our 100th episode. 100 of these. Pretty amazing that we've been able to make it this far. I want to thank all the support from you and from the reviews that you've left and for the people that you've sent this to. I'd like to thank the team, Reaching Dreams, especially the marketing team that handles all our social media. Just a tremendous group of people, and we've just been able to influence so many lives, hopefully for the better, and just really have an impact. And hopefully, we've been able to influence your mental thought process on investing and your thought process on yourself and betting on yourself and betting on your ability to invest in yourself mentally, physically, and financially. And so maybe later on we'll do a more. We're supposed to bring Maddie back for our 100th episode, but we got some scheduling things happening, and so we'll maybe do a deeper dive later on. Let you know all the numbers, how many people have downloaded the podcast, kind of the reach. I know we're in the top 10% in the world. And I think we're about 10 to 20 listeners away from breaking into the top 5%. So pretty good numbers there. And I always kind of judge this based on, I was like, okay, well, as a professor, I'm seeing this many students a week. This is how many people I'm influencing a week. Okay, well, how could I, could I do that many a week on the podcast? And so now I have many more people listening every week than I would ever see in a classroom. And then also it kind of gives me a platform to talk to all my clients at once, let them know what I'm thinking about the market, kind of give them an update, with everything that's going on and kind of talk to them all at once as well. And so it's really been pretty great. So, my world is both academia and practice. And so this allows me to keep in touch with former students. And then also keep in touch with clients, talk to everybody kind of at once, give them my thoughts on the market, good or bad. And from that standpoint, I think it's been pretty successful. So, but just really want to come from a point of appreciation, appreciate all the support, all the feedback, all the questions, everything like that. So with that being said, let's start episode 100. And in today's episode, I've gotten, a couple, I guess more than a couple, but just messages about talking more about my business, my thoughts on business, and all of those things. And so, I would like to say that you can never stop. You never need to stop betting on yourself, right? And really thinking about how can you make things better for you, for your family. And kind of, just having a little bit of blind faith. And so, I haven't announced this yet, but I am going to be changing schools. I'm going to be moving back to TCU, Texas Christian University in Fort Worth. I'm going to be teaching there starting in the fall on a permanent basis. And that has been a pretty long journey. I was there 4 years ago, and I'm excited to be going back on a permanent basis and really be able to hone in on teaching finance and corporate finance and security analysis and some pretty deep finance courses for them and their students. But it really, when you think about it from my business standpoint, it's really a leap of faith because I'm going to have to, I'm moving houses, I'm moving my business a little bit. I'm actually going to keep the office that I have now. And, it's scary and there's things that you have to do, but there's also, it's a great, fantastic opportunity. I thought about it for maybe 5 seconds, and, this is one of those opportunities that you really can't turn away. And so, I travel a pretty good amount, probably more than people realize, to go see clients. I'm usually every 4 to 6 weeks, I'm going somewhere. And so what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to expand my investment practice. I'm going to open up another office somewhere in the Dallas Fort Worth area. I'm going to keep the office I currently have in Midland, Texas, and I'll be traveling back to that, seeing clients and doing those things. And so for me, my client base is really, it hasn't shifted over the past couple of years, but a lot of people that I have that are clients of mine, they've moved, they've maybe they're retiring, they're moving somewhere else. And so now I kind of have clients all over the state of Texas. So this will actually make it a little bit easier for me to be able to travel to see people. I'll be about 3.5 hours from everybody. And so should put me in a good central location. But change is inevitable. And I'm excited about this. I'm excited about where this is gonna take me, and kind of puts down a pretty good anchor here. And so you never really know how these things are going to go, but I think we've done everything the proper way, and that we'll be able to make it to where people don't even notice. I mean, that's kind of the thing when it comes to being in business, or starting a business or whatever. For me, one of the things I've always wanted to do is to be easy to do business with, right? So always one phone call away. Everybody has access to me. And I think that's been very, very helpful, and kind of one of the reasons why we've been able to be successful. Now that I'm working with other advisors that I've partnered with a lot of advisors, now have a junior advisor, and it's one of the things I stress is you want to be easy to do business with. And so if you're starting your business, thinking about starting a business, you always want to be easy to do business with, so you don't give people a reason not to do business with you. And so I'm excited about this, excited about being able to expand my office, have a larger reach, be able to help more people and families when it comes to their finances, help more students. And that's really kind of what this has always been about, right? So helping people, making an impact, and doing it for generations to come. And so one of the individuals that asked me to talk about kind of the business side of things, I haven't talked about it a lot, but when I'm here, or where I've been, one of the things I've had influence with is the Midland Entrepreneurial Challenge, which is basically, kind of think of it as a citywide version of Shark Tank, and helping businesses and business owners come in it. They come into night school basically once a week for almost 6 months, or once every 2 weeks for almost 6 months. We would do classes on different areas of business. And so I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. I worked with a lot of entrepreneurs in the banking world. I've worked with them on the entrepreneurship side, the academic world. And so I have picked up a number of things that I see that I think kind of impact somebody's ability to be successful or not when it comes to running their own business. And not everybody's built for it. And that's okay. And if you don't run your own business, but you want to be very valuable to the business that you're in, having that mindset of an entrepreneur is also very beneficial. And so, you just have to kind of think about all the different things. I mean, entrepreneurship is the one business category that uses all the other majors, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, you're using accounting, finance, management, everything, IT. I mean, you're doing all the jobs. And so you have to be able to switch pretty, quickly between the subjects. And so I was thinking about how I would present this. I was thinking about some of the traps that people fall into when it comes to running their own business. And so I just wanted to read a couple of these to you. One of the biggest traps I see with somebody starting out is they try to be all things to all people. And it's because when you're starting your own business or running your own business, you don't want to tell anybody no, right? Because obviously you want customers, you want to be able to eat, you want to be able to pay your light bill. So telling somebody no seems to be completely foreign nature. So you just try to do everything for everybody and you say, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can figure that out. And you might have to do that for a little bit, but that's really not a good long-term strategy. And especially when it comes down to, somebody asks you how you can help and you're like, hey, I just need people. If you say, I like to work with, and you're very specific about it, right? I'm just going to use an example. You're very specific. I work with firefighters that are, 40 and under. Well, that person, it basically, you can't prevent their brain from like turning on their Rolodex and saying, hey, do I know any firefighters that are under 40? Because you gave them something specific to look for. If you're just saying, I want to work with a person, there's nothing for them to be able to try to narrow that down. So that one is a trap that most people fall into. There's also thinking you have to have it all planned out to start. Like, I'm not going to start my business until I know everything, until I know what's going on, until I have everything planned out. And I'm here to tell you, it's the same thing. You could put, instead of business here, you could put kids. You're never going to have it all planned out. You're never going to have every single duck in a row. It's never going to look perfect. I'm just telling you right now, even when you're running the business, it's not going to look perfect. There's always going to be something you can do better. Always. There's always going to be, you have a conversation. It's like recording this podcast. Every time I record a podcast, 5 minutes, I don't even know if it's 5 minutes. Usually right after the end, I go, man, I should have said this better. I should have done this better. I could have said it in this way, and I think it would have came across a little bit more clear. I could have done that a little bit better. My tone of voice could have been a little bit better here. But if that's the way it's always going to be. There's always going to be something that you feel could have been a little bit better. But the key is the consistency and showing up and doing the things over and over and over again. And that far outweighs just trying to be perfect. Because that is, it's a very hard standard to put on yourself. So you really kind of have to drop that. And I know that is difficult for a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, because most entrepreneurs are type A personalities. They're go-getters, they're drivers. They demand perfection, and that is just a recipe for disaster. It just doesn't work. And so the other thing is thinking that success will come right away. I see this one where people get pretty discouraged because when they start the business, there is all this hype around it and everybody's excited and you have kind of that euphoria and, it's new and it's exciting and all that. And then all of a sudden people go back to their daily lives and that's when things start to get difficult. So it's not, that every business isn't going to be successful. But normally there's that hype in the beginning and then there's a little lull afterwards. And that's what really starts to get people. So it has to be more than it has to be more than motivation. There has to be something behind why you're doing what you're doing. Because if there's not, and that's the passion piece, right? You have to have passion for what you're doing. You have to have a belief in what you're doing. Otherwise, the hype around starting something will not last and you will give up and it's just not enough. So you got to find what's your why, what's the reason you're doing what you're doing, and you got to let that passion come through and carry you through that kind of that the monotony and the boringness of the day-to-day, so that you kind of have that purpose that's pushing you through those difficult times. Because it is tough. Like it's, people are not giving it away. There's not, people aren't just going to show up to your business because you have a sign on the wall. That's not going to happen. It's the same thing with, people getting degrees. I tell my MBA students, hey, just because you get your MBA doesn't mean they're going to make you CEO the next week. Like it doesn't work like that. It takes, patience, perseverance, consistency, all the things that we have discussed. And, it's doing those things on a daily basis. So if you're not doing something you really like, then it's going to become, an issue. But most of the time, when you're starting a business, you're doing it because maybe you saw an opportunity, you saw the way something could be done better, and you have to believe in that process and you have to believe that you're going to be able to, get others to believe the same way that you do. When it came to my finance business, my investment business, I was looking at how money was being managed when I was in my early 20s, and I really didn't understand it. I was like, why are we charging these people commissions when internet trading is going to come around and it's going to take commissions down to nothing? There's got to be a better way. Plus, I felt like I was on the wrong side of the table as my clients. Like, I knew, because of my background and the study of investments that I've done, that the number one thing that people do to mess up their portfolio is they trade too often. So if I'm getting compensated for letting somebody for trying to get somebody to trade more often, I'm not on the right side of the table with them. And at 24 years old, I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so I researched, talked to people, figured out that I could charge people a fee to provide investment advice, so that the more money they made, the more money I make. I don't have to constantly be looking for new clients. I can be choosy. I can work with people that I genuinely want to work with. I mean, my clients, I love them. I love their families. These are people I genuinely want to hang out with. I would love to go to lunch with them. I mean, these are not people that I don't want to see. And I said that on that episode that kind of triggered these questions, which was, if you're going to be in business for yourself, why would you not work with people that you want to hang out with, right? I mean, you don't want, what's the point of being in business for yourself if you're working with people you don't like? And so, that might not be something you can do right up front, but that's a place where you got to get. And so, I think a lot of times too, somebody mentioned to me, they sent me a message and said, well, did you start your own business because you're motivated by money? And that is not the reason. I started my own business because I saw an opportunity, but number one, I am not motivated by money. I mean, I guess I am. Everybody is to a certain extent, but I am motivated by freedom. I want to be able to control my schedule. I want to be able to go do the things I want to do. I want to be able to, set my own schedule, because if you're not making your dreams come true, you're going to make somebody else's dreams come true. And if you're not in control of your schedule, that means somebody else is in control of your schedule. And so I did not want somebody else to be in control of my schedule. But I'm not going to, I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't hard. It was extremely, extremely difficult. But things have happened that have, that I didn't understand at the time, that have really allowed my current career to blossom. So when I started doing investing, I was out on my own when I started my own company, and financially it was difficult. I mean, it was extremely difficult. I didn't really have enough clients to be able to pay my bills and whatnot. So I took the job at the bank that I was working at. And then I also started teaching at night. I started teaching at a community college at night. And I was teaching finance classes, management, whatever. I was teaching every class I could. And, I've told this story before, but, I ended up liking that more than I thought I would. I go back, I do my doctorate degree, all those things. And it's funny because the people that I worked with, some of the people that I worked with at that community college said, you can never go from a community college up to a university. Like, that's not possible. That's not how this world works. And of course, I'm not in that world really. I mean, like, I didn't, that's kind of wasn't my thing. I was like, have you applied to other jobs at a university? No, but there's no point. Like, they're not going to take you. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't believe that. So I started applying to different universities. I teach at TCU 4 years ago. I guess that would have been 2018, 2019 school year before everything got crazy. And, I'm teaching there 3 days a week, but I don't live there. I'm driving, right? I'm driving. And so I would wake up at 4 a.m. I had to teach an 8 a.m. class. I would get up at 4 a.m., I guess sometimes 3:30. I would drive to Fort Worth, which is about 4 hours away from me. I still pass this building where I would actually, sometimes I'd be so tired in the morning, I would stop and take a nap in their parking lot in my truck before I would go teach. And this isn't like, just kind of any university. I mean, this university is a top ranked. The finance program is top ranked in the country. I mean, this is a very highly ranked university, and I'm sleeping in a parking lot in my truck before going to teach. And I say that because we always talk about somebody's, grinding it out, how are they, what was the come up story? Like I'm still in that mindset. Like I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this happen. And so, I teach there for a year, and, there wasn't an opportunity for me to be there permanently. I feel like I did a good job. My student reviews were great. And I kept in touch with everybody and was like, hey, when an opportunity comes up, please keep me in mind. That kind of thing, always being appreciative and being patient. And then all of a sudden, 4 years later, get a phone call. Hey, we'd love to have you back on a permanent basis. And that's all you can hope for, is that you do a good job, people notice, and then that you're kind, you're courteous, and that they comes back to reward you. And so, you have to be playing the long game. You have to be thinking about what's something I can do that not everybody else is going to do. And if you do those things, I mean, you put yourself, it's not a guarantee, but you put yourself in a position that you can be successful, and that you can make some of the things that you have happen. And so, for the longest time, and I mean like 15, 20 years, my goal has been to be a professor at a world-class institution and to manage $100 million. Like that has been my goal for, 15 years, since I was 25 years old, probably, maybe a little bit older, maybe, I don't know, 25 to 28, somewhere around there. But that has been my goal. Be a professor, world-class institution, and then also manage $100 million. And today, I have the world-class institution that I'm going to be a professor at, and I'm at 85 million in assets under management that I currently manage. And so I'm very, very close to achieving those goals, and I just turned 42. So my thoughts are, man, I got to come up with some new goals, right? And I got to come up with some goals that I don't know if I can achieve. But I love doing that. That's the whole reason I'm doing the CFA. I got some other things that, I enjoy challenging myself. And, who knows? Maybe the new goal is like one day y'all turn on, the TV and I'm the guy on CNBC that you're watching. Who knows? You don't know. I mean, we'll see. And so, you got to keep pushing. You got to keep setting goals. You got to keep, moving forward and putting yourself in a position to be successful. And if you do that, you got to be okay with where the cards may fall. So when I started my business, I knew that I might not be as successful as I wanted to be. I thought I could make it happen. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think I could be successful. But I didn't know how successful I was going to be. But I love the fact that it was on me, right? That I was going to be able to figure it out or not figure it out based on my effort, my ability to work with people, and not have to worry about a boss giving me a 2% raise every year. So I was okay with that chance. Like I was okay betting on myself that I could give myself better raises than a boss that was going to give me 2 to 3% a year. Right. So when you think about, the choices that you're making, I think betting on yourself is a good place to be. Now, I want to highlight something. I'm going to close with this, but we talk about business books. People read different things. There's a book that I want to give you that I think that I might have talked about before. I can't remember, but it's the Definitive Book of Body Language. So, Definitive Book of Body Language is a book by Barbara and Alan Pease. Pease. We'll highlight it on social media so you can look at this. I'm looking at it on a website. It's $5 book. It's a fabulous book on body language. So when people ask me, what are some things that like business owners, tips for business owners that, I think that they could improve in? Most of the time, people, whatever their business is associated with, they know that area really well. They're an expert in that area and whatever it is that they're doing. And otherwise, they wouldn't want to start a business in it. The one area that I think many people, my students, people I've worked with, whatever, it's getting better at the people side of things, right? Reading people's body language, understanding how body language, tone of voice, all of those things work together. The people aspect of it, and especially with so much being done social media wise, our interaction with people face to face probably isn't as strong as it used to be. And so if you're really looking for kind of an area where you might be able to improve leaps and bounds upon, it's being able to speak, being able to talk to people, being able to read people. All of those things are important. So this book on body language, Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, like those kind of books where you're getting better at just working with other people, that can be a massive game changer for you, because especially if you own your own business or if you're going to be a manager in a business, it's more about the people than it is about whatever else you're doing. Right. So if you're managing people, if you're directing people, all of these things are very, very key. So learning how to talk to people and how you're coming across to people is just extremely, extremely important. So I hope this is helpful for you. The next time you see a video of this, it's going to be a new studio. And so we got a lot of changes happening this summer, but they're good changes. And so I appreciate you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you sending this podcast to your friends and your family. And here's to another 100 episodes. So never mistake activity for achievement. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.